Ladies and gentlemen, 7 a.m. is African Standard Time. I take this opportunity to welcome all our virtual audience, both Zoom and YouTube, to the 9th edition of Financial Management Series, 29th January 2025. Today's topic: setting financial goals, and to split the atom, to count the numbers. Dr. Charles Balgare, a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. He is a founder of Financial Improvement Program and also a financial consultant. Prior to that, Dr. Charles have worked as University Secretary and Accounting Officer at Makerere University. And prior to that, Director Internal Audit, Makerere University. He has vast experience of over 20 years in both public and private sector, where he is specialized and proven in the area of financial management, audit, risk, and grants management. He is a recipient of several global, national, and local awards, one of them being Distinguished Service to Makerere University and the Republic of Uganda. He obtained and received on 1st May 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, again, another panelist, discussant is none other than Rogers Ahire. Rogers is a financial advisor at ASEA Lion. He is a certified investment and financial analyst, and with vast experience in financial advisory services, especially insurance, investment, and pensions. Join me in welcoming the two gentlemen who this morning are going to guide the conversation on setting personal financial goals. Your moderator this morning is Robinson Isaac Ogwang. Dr. Charles Balgare, you are author of several books: Navigating the Financial Path, The 30-Day Personal Finance Improvement Plan, Breaking Expenses, Outpacing Income, and 9 pillars to exploit your potential. Tell us, where possible, with relevant specific examples, setting personal financial goals.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson Ogwang. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy New Year. At a moment like this, which is January, it is important to have a perspective of why I actually set financial goals. But before I get into that, I want to tell you a quick story that relates to goals. Several years ago, while in the village, I was walking with my parents to go and work in the garden. We met a gentleman along the way, and we greeted him. And my parents asked him, "Where are you going?" And he smiled and said, "By the way, where am I going?" And my parents later convinced him to go with us and work in the garden. So if I may ask, did that person have a goal for that day? Did that person have a target? Did that person have an objective for that day? Secondly, have you set your personal financial goals for this year? If you have, go into the chat room and just put number 1, we will be able to see. But if you have not set, all is not lost. In the next 45 minutes or thereabouts, you'll have gotten insights into how to set them and may be inspired to actually go ahead and implement them. So that's the first part. The second part, ladies and gentlemen, is that January is the period for making goals. Why? Several years ago, actually centuries ago, there was a Roman god. That Roman god was called Janus. Janus was a god known for beginnings, transitions, gates, and doors. He was also known to have 2 faces, one at the back and one at the front. Now, the one at the back was focused on looking at the past 12 months ago to reflect and to have a perspective of what happened in the last 12 months, to provide insight into what can be useful in the next 12 months. Now, the one at the front was to look ahead 12 months ahead. So that's why January actually was called January. It comes from Janus. That's what raises the question. Why set goals specifically in January? It is from that background, because it's the critical aspect that drives the energy to look back and the energy to look forward. So I guess we have all set our goals. If you have not, we still have a number of days to go ahead and set our goals within the month of January. Now, goals can be broad. They can be for career, they can be for health, they can be for wealth, which is largely financial. But today we are going to focus specifically on financial goals. So what are financial goals? Goals are basically monetary targets or objectives focused on achieving specific desires in a given period of time. An example of a goal is, if you don't have any emergency fund that you have put aside, you can set a goal to have an emergency fund equivalent to, say, 3 months of your operational expenses. Say, if you spend 500 a month and you are saying, I need some money that I can use should there be a problem, and you are saying, I need to put aside 3 months, you can say, I want to put aside 3 months of expenses, which is 1.5 in a period of 2 years. That becomes a specific goal. The other goal you can set is that you realize that you only have one source of income, which may be salary, and you say, I want to achieve some side hustle income. And you say, I'm targeting in the next 2 years to have 20% of my income coming from side hustle income. So those are some of the examples of goals. But why set financial goals? In 2009, I attended a workshop and the same question was asked, why set financial goals? And we all provided our various answers. And the facilitator smiled and said, your answers are all scattered in there. And because they are all scattered in there, it may not even be convincing to you to set a goal, let alone to convince you to go ahead and implement it. And he said, there are 4 ways and 4 clear reasons why you should set a goal. And he abbreviated it in the acronym CIFA. I'm not describing the qualifications of Rogers. I'm actually describing what that lady emphasized around setting financial goals. CIFA stands for clarity, that is C. I stands for inspire, and F stands for focus, and A stands for accountability. So if I turn to C, clarity, you must have clarity of purpose and direction with your financial life. When you are targeting to have a desired financial life, then you have to work on understanding and appreciating what that financial life should look like. That becomes clarity. The second is inspire. You must be motivated and driven to achieve that goal. Because if you are not inspired, if you are not driven and motivated, by the end of January, the goal you set on 1st January, you will have lost interest and you will not actually achieve that goal. The third is F, which is focus. Now, there are many things that we can put our money to, that we can pay attention to. If we focus on many, then we may not achieve anything, or we may achieve very small in those aspects. So, but when you focus, you narrow down. That's why cameras are focused. Similarly, our financial goals have to be focused so that you pay attention to the priorities for that specific period, which may be short term, medium term, which may be long term. And finally is accountability. You need to remember that you have to account. That accountability requires that you know why you set your goal, you know and monitor how far you have gone to achieve that goal, and it's in that direction that you'll be able to say, by March, this is what I have achieved. By September, this is what I've achieved. These are the areas I need to check. These are the areas I need to review and monitor. So it becomes very critical to become clear on CFA, which is clarity, inspire, focus, and accountability. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles, for the illustration. I turn to Rogers. Building on the conversation, in the audience, we have multidisciplinary professionals, from business owners, investors, students, academicians, and other professionals. The post-COVID-19 recovery program challenged the global economy, and there's a lot of interest in investments, focusing for individuals' retirement, down payment for a house, education for children, and others. But there's always a challenge matching plans to goals. With your experience, how do you advise and how do you navigate these into opportunities? Rogers?
Thank you, Doctor. I was still on mute. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining this call. Good morning to you all. That's a very nice question. How do you match those plans? How do you move those plans to achieve your goals? It's really a long process, a step-by-step process. But before I even go to that, I want to hint on something that Dr. Charles has mentioned that trickled something on CFA. And I want to hit on inspire, which is has reminded me of something. I once had a supervisor who told me, if your goals and objectives don't scare you, then they are not big enough. And to me, that should inspire, should challenge you and move you. If they don't scare you, they're not big enough. But let's go to how these plans can lead to goals. It's really a step-by-step process. And to me, I believe it will start with budgeting, which I think is key. I'll start from the beginning. I know what comes to me on a monthly basis, and I'll break it down. I know my incomes. I need to know where that money is going. So if you break it down into what will I do step by step, I know what I'm getting, I know what I'll spend, I know where I'll spend it. After putting that together, then I know what I'm going to put aside to achieve my plans. These plans, I'll have now small objectives broken down. And Dr. Charles asked something. Have you set a target for this year? Do you have a personal goal that you want to meet this year? And I want to share with you mine. I have debt. I don't want to pay off that debt because I believe it's cheap in terms of the rate I'm paying. But my target is to generate passive income to exceed the total cost of financing that loan, the interest I pay. So let me give you an example. If the interest I pay every month is 2 million, I want by the end of the year to generate at least 2 million from passive income to meet that, so that I know it's covered. I don't need to pay it off because I can invest less to actually meet that target and pay it off. So to meet those goals, you have to lay out clear plans. I know there are many, we could mention so many examples, but one by one, put it down, be specific on when you want to have it achieved. I know by the end of the year, I want to have it sorted, and I'll have that laid down clearly, and I'll move to that. We can mention as many as possible, but that's just one example. Thank you, Doctor. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Rogers, for the illustration with relevant specific examples. Dr. Charles, taking the conversation forward, is about setting personal financial goals. Rogers is talking about discipline, compliance, setting the bar high, and not compromising on achieving despite the challenges. How you, as a financial consultant who have mentored so many business owners in the last 5 years, see to it that the plans are not just on paper, but there's compliance.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson Ogwang. Uganda is well known for setting very, very good plans, but the implementation of those plans is not good. And I want to emphasize that a plan that is not implemented is not a plan at all. And therefore, I want to use this model to explain why we can move ahead and set a goal that is actually implementable. That model is called the GPS, Goal, Problem, Solution. This model says that for you to have a goal that is implementable, you must have a problem which requires to be solved. And because you have a problem that requires to be solved, it becomes important to design a goal to deal with that specific problem. And when you have a goal that relates to the problem, then you go ahead and work on a solution to deal with that problem. Let me give an example. If one of the challenges you are actually facing or the specific problem you want to address is that you have a limited income and therefore expenses are always threatening you for survival, then the goal can be, you know, you have salary, which is not adequate. You have to now set a goal to have passive income. And you can say, I want to begin by working on achieving, even if it is just 10% of passive income, which is supplementary income that you earn from other sources, to actually address that problem. Then you are saying, in terms of the solution, what do I do? Do I start a kiosk near my home? Do I become an MC at functions despite the routine that I do? So you set a goal using the GPS method that can align with the problem so that you are able then to go ahead and provide a solution that will continue on a regular basis to inspire you to say, I am dealing with this problem is not yet gone, and therefore I have to continue paying attention to what matters to have this problem solved. So that gives energy and momentum to keep you inspired, to keep you cheered up, to remain consistent with your goal.
Thank you, Charles, for that wonderful illustration. I turn to you, Rogers. But before Rogers, I want to welcome those who are just joining us. Today, for those who have registered earlier and expressed interest in receiving certificate for continuous professional development, you will definitely earn your certificate at the end of the session. Rogers, for these goals to be achieved, it requires documentation. And I repeat, documentation, documentation. You kept referring to being very realistic to the goal, to the target, and to the objectives. Given your experience as an advisor in investment sector, how can a member in the audience benefit from this?
Thank you so much, Doctor. That's a very nice one. I remember, I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I used to write in my notebook. You know, income is easy to track. Maybe you have 2 or 3 sources of income. So you're able to know roughly, total it up even off head, and know that I'm getting this a month on average. But what actually goes out is harder to track. That 10K you keep spending daily, that expenditure that comes in abruptly and goes, and money keeps just going. I know you've had a saying whereby, I know I receive money, I don't know where it goes. You know, I've had that comment a lot of times from different people, and it's very interesting. It's so important that you actually note down where your money is going. Even more important than where it's coming from, because it's easy to track where it's coming from, but where it's going. So back then, before we had these, the technology was maybe less, not everyone had a smartphone. So I used to note down in the book, and then end of month I would total it up and try to see what I've actually spent, and whether it tallies with what I targeted. But nowadays it should be a little bit easier, because noting in the book, sometimes you might even forget. There are apps. I like apps. At least all of us now use, most of us, let me not say all of us, a good percentage use smartphones. There are so many free apps there for budgeting. You can search budget apps. You go to your Play Store. You'll have an app that will, what you need is actually to record, but it will make it also easier for you to record. As you move, as you spend, you'll just note, take a small note on the app that you've spent this money on transport, you've spent this, you've bought something, you've bought a gift for somebody, and you note it down. It will also give you a reminder. You can have a reminder end of day. Set it when you know you've settled down, maybe 9 p.m., maybe 10. It will send you a reminder and say, what have you recorded your expenditure today? Have you noted it down? And then you can put it there and include it in the app. If you want more advanced app, there are some apps you can even link to your bank, whereby it will also track transactions that are going off your bank. It will give you what you're spending, what you're actually investing, and categorize them. So by the end of the month, you will know how much money you've actually spent, how much money you've invested, and how much you will be able to track each and every single shilling that you've spent. And that is key to achieving your goals and set targets, because you will know what you're getting and where it's going. You will be able to track and see, if I plan to save every month 500,000, did I manage? And speaking of saving, I believe it should be the first one even before you start spending. When that money comes, let it go off fast, and then you can look into other things. So I'll say, have an app. If you can't have an app, record. Back to you, Doctor.
And make some contribution. Recording is very, very fundamental. Why is it fundamental? I want to share with you that you may be there and say, let me write an article, and you have ideas flowing in the head. And it will appear very easy that you have aspects that are flowing. But when you go down to write it, you start to realize you don't have enough information. And because you realize you don't have enough information, you end up going to research to gather more information. And that helps you, one, to beef up your understanding. So the effort of writing something down enhances clarity, because it enables you to go deeper research. That's why in some aspects, the goal is described as an acronym, G standing for gathering information, O, organizing the information, A, analyzing the information, and L, learning and taking action about all those you have actually gathered. So when you go into the aspect of recording, you actually enhance your understanding of a specific aspect, but also it provides a mechanism of tracking. I want to share with you a small story of a lady called Luminita. Luminita wrote a few things in her notebook of what she wanted to be several years ahead. She did not know even the mechanism to get there. What did she write? She said, I want to be the best author, and I want to travel the world. And several years later, she started writing a blog post. The blog post was posted, it didn't have views. She started sharing with friends. And one time, a friend shared that blog post to several others on Facebook, and it got wild. Several people received that blog post. It was about 15 things to give up to be happy. Now, over a period of like 2 years, that blog post generated over 1.2 million views on Facebook. What happened? The Penguin Publishing House in London contacted her, convert that blog post into a book, and paid all her costs to convert it into a book. Now, because the book was published and started selling, she was invited in several countries to present the 15 things to give up to be happy. So she achieved becoming the best author. She achieved becoming, being able to travel the world, just because she had intentions and started slowly working on them. So writing down something keeps you reminded to pay attention, but importantly, to follow up every time and regularly.
Yes, time is not our best ally. Time is not on our side. This is to both of you. We have all talked of accountability and seeing where the money is going without your hand touching it. How can setting personal financial goals add value to one's investment? I want to start with Rogers.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. The most important thing when you have a goal is it will link you to what you need to do. Because if you have a goal, then you have to break down the specific small steps or objectives that you'll undertake to actually achieve that goal. So let's say by the end of the year, I want to have a trip. Then I'll go back to what I've budgeted. Can I squeeze in something small, put it aside and accumulate it over the year so that it leads to that goal? So when you have a specific target, then you've put aside something to achieve it. Then you look at, what do I now do? Where do I actually invest this money? Where can I put it and accumulate it slowly so that it leads to what I want to achieve? And there are solutions available, at least in our Ugandan market, that will actually help you or lead you to achieve your goals. And if the goal, and goals can be, let me also try to put it this way, goals can be short-term or long-term or medium-term. So if it's a short-term goal, match it with a short-term investment. If it's long-term goal, then you can match it with a longer-term investment. What am I speaking about? If I know I have a goal I want to meet, a financial goal I want to meet in 6 months, then the best investment I need to take is a short-term investment. Which example can I give? In the Ugandan market now, we have unit trust funds, right? I hope you've heard of unit trust funds. Generally, you're earning interest on your account on a daily basis until when you require that money. And these unit trusts can even pay out for as short as 14 days or 2 weeks, and you're able to get your money out. So if I have a goal for 6 months and I want to sort it out, it means I have to invest my money in a short-term investment like a unit trust. If it's long-term, I want to, for example, buy land, and I know I'll take maybe 3 to 5 years to accumulate that money or build a house. Then I'll match the investment. I'll look for an investment that will pay me maybe more money because I'm committing money longer, and then I'll be able to achieve that specific goal or objective. So, for example, if I'm looking at 3 to 5 years, then I might consider investing in a bond because the bond is longer term. If I'm approaching my goal, then I might channel the money back to a unit trust, which is short term. So now I know I'm about to reach the target I want to achieve or to hit, then I will channel. So you have to invest to match the goals. You invest short term for short term goals, you invest long term for long term goals. Back to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Rogers.
I will pick it from there. First of all, the first aspect is clarity of what you want to achieve. Clarity can be targeting the short one, the short term. Clarity can be targeting the medium. Clarity can be about achieving the long-term one. For instance, if you notice one of the aspects of the financial aspect you want to deal with is dealing with education for your children. And you notice what you earn from salary is not sufficient to cover the education requirements. There are several things then you need to think about. One, can you plan to enhance income as a strategy? Two, can you plan to cut some costs in certain areas as a main target or goal? Can you plan to sacrifice certain things for the main thing that is a priority during the specific period? So you will find that if, say, your school fees requirements is projected to increase in the next 3 years, then you need to say, in year 1, I need to save more. I need to cut off certain operational expenses to make sure that I put aside slightly more money so that I can be able to meet my fees requirements, which are likely to be higher in the 4th year. That's why you choose to invest in some options that give you a return in a period of 3 years, or in a period of 5 years, in a period of 1.5 years, depending on your financial requirements. So to begin with, clarity of where you are going, then you are inspired into that direction. And thirdly, it helps you to focus. And when you are focused, you have a mechanism again to check whether your focus is consistent and persistent in the direction of where you want to achieve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Charles. I turn to Rogers. Most people are silent with their personal financial goals because of the risk of failure. And yet some people are so ambitious to set goals. How, from your background, advising investors and business owners, how can one diversify his or her plans?
Oh, thank you, Doctor. I think I'll break it into two. There's something you started with that most people are silent about their goals. They don't want to share. They want to keep it under wraps. And I'll link it to what Dr. Charles started with on CIFA, and he mentioned something to do with accountability. I want to look at accountability in the other direction, in a way that, is there somebody who is going to hold you accountable to the goals that you've set? Are you sharing these goals with somebody? Is there a confidant, somebody you trust that you can actually discuss these goals with? I actually discuss a lot of goals with some of the people we deal with or clients that we engage, and they're able to share. So I'm like an example of somebody you can bounce off the goals or set objectives to. And the other party that I usually look at are the family members. If you're a married person, you're a wife, you're a gentleman, and you have a companion or a partner, I believe it's key that you actually share some of these goals, because it will also help you to avoid conflict in terms of we are trying to achieve this, but somebody doesn't actually know what you're trying to achieve. So because your partner doesn't know where you're heading, there's conflict in terms of how much money you're spending on this and that. So it's key that you actually share this information with somebody you trust. It could be your financial advisor, it could be your friend, it could be your partner, so that they hold you accountable. They will remind you 6 months down the road, you said you wanted to do this. How far with it? How far have you gone? If you am your financial advisor, then I'm calling you and say, by the way, this year we targeted this. We are down on this. Remember, the sum was supposed to be this by this time. Why are we here? What can we actually do to improve this? Then you talked about diversification, which actually brings me to risk. We all set goals, and then you'll get challenges along the way in terms of achieving the set goals. And challenges are brought in by the risks you face, that something that is hard to plan for. Let me give, for example, a medical emergency. These things happen from nowhere, and you find you're maybe in the family or yourself, you're challenged and you spent a lot of money on medical, or you've planned your investment, as another example, and then you've put all your eggs in one basket. Let's say you're trying agroforestry, and then God forbid, the whole plan is burnt. You have a fire outbreak and you lose everything. It is so important that you try and cover the risks you face. And if it's medical, maybe it might be good to consider insurance. You get medical insurance, and you have that taken care of. You know it's a specific expenditure. You've budgeted for it, planned for it, and if it's medical insurance, you know you're paying a specific sum. But what you can actually get from the insurance company is much bigger, right? Maybe you're paying 1 million a year, but you're covered up to 15 million if you're hospitalized. That's not something you can easily pay off if you had not actually bought insurance for 1 million that is going to cover you for 50 million. So it's key that you look at those risks that you face and try to plan ahead and cover them, because they can be a big challenge to achieving your goals. Now, speaking of investments, the other example I gave about your project maybe being destroyed by fire, it's important that you diversify your investments. We always say nothing is riskless. You know, in financial terms, for example, we say treasury bills and bonds are risk-free. And you read it everywhere, but nothing is actually risk-free. If you go deeper, I can explain bonds in the next even 30 minutes and I won't finish. And I can bring out risks associated with investing in bonds. You can say land. If I'm in land, I'm covered. But you get an emergency that will require you to have money, and you might have to actually sell off that land at a very low price compared to its value. So by diversifying and not putting all your eggs in one basket, you'll be covered in terms of emergencies, in terms of unexpected risks that actually happen. Let me give an example. You know what happened when we got COVID? We had never gotten COVID. Maybe as I was reading, that's something like that last happened maybe 100 years ago. But it happened and we had to stop working and go back home, right? So there are things that will happen that you can't plan for, but if at least you've diversified investments, you, for example, have that emergency fund that doctor talked about, you'll be covered. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify, diversify, diversify. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you very much, Rogers. Dr. Charles, the conversation is on. Those in the audience, in the next 5 minutes, we shall be responding to your questions. We shall also give you opportunity to call in. But Dr. Charles, from diversification, what is the best time in one's career or in one's life to set up a personal financial goals?
Thank you so much. I think at all levels, we have to continually set goals. Now, when we go specifically to financial goals, it means the financial goals are around how to earn, how to grow that money, how to effectively use, and how to protect that money. So you'll find a student will be looking at how can I, at setting goals of how can I attract better pocket money from my parents. Now, having got that money, how do I protect it and use it well up to the end of the month? That's a clear goal for a student. Now, for a person working, you know you get salary at the beginning of the month. So you have to set a goal to make sure that that salary can take you through the month. That's one. Number two, you are able to have some money saved and invested so that you are able to then grow, but also to cater for the period when you are unable to work, the period you are sick, the period you are retrenched, the period your employment terms have issues, so that you are able to then have something you can fall back to. That's why, colleagues, statistics sometimes are very painful. Bosa Musampungu provided statistics in his book, How to Plan for a Successful Retirement, and indicated that 49% of the people retire financially dependent on family, friends, and the community. What a bad statistic. Therefore, at all levels, you have to plan for your goals, set them, review them, modify them, taking into changing conditions at the time, because each time you have to keep getting updated. But more importantly, you must have a long-term picture. What do I want to see in 5 years? Then you work backwards and keep moving towards it. In those small steps that growth is actually evidenced. If you want rapid growth, you are likely to rapidly fall as well. And therefore, because of that, it's very important to set long-term goals, break them down, then steadily work into them. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Charles. To you, Rogers, given your experience and background, in the audience, we have students. We have those planning retirement. We have chief executive officers who are also trying to improve the cash flows and also turn around the organization. We also have the business community, retail and wholesale. What key message from setting personal financial goals would you share that improves success rate? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. So I'm looking specifically at the risk that you face to achieving your set targets. Diverse. They're all over the place. But how do you channel that? How do you make sure that you actually achieve what you want to achieve and mitigate or minimize those risks? Let me a little bit go back to, maybe I can start from a student who is maybe trying it at the university, for example. I would say research, research, research. You have a lot of material available to you. You might not have a lot of cash flow to deal with, but that's much information as I can, because information is key. For each problem that you face, there's actually a solution out there. If I go to somebody who is, for example, has started working, and your income is not that a lot, I would say, because normally you start and then it starts growing as you go through the levels. If you've started the business, maybe it's still in the baby steps. It's not stable. You're not even sure whether it will survive for 2 or 3 years. So I would say, again, try to don't put all your eggs in one basket. Whether it's business, make sure there's something on the side you're doing. And you might say, where will all that money come from for me to do this and this and that? There are ways of achieving that through groups or clubs. Whichever level you're at, you have similar people who are in the same age bracket as you that are actually going through the same challenges. So if now I've just started working, my income is low, leave them alone. So I'll go into a group, which means that the money I'm committing for that will be much more. This will still apply to somebody who's talking to one of my friends who has actually than me. I have friends who are younger, and because we've had this relationship for long, I know that now my friends, I call them my friends. And he has retired, but he has 3 or 4 people that have actually joined him to do a venture. If each of them is contributing 5 million, it means they're not putting all the money they have or all the money he has in that venture. So it allows that person to do a more risky venture than he would if he was alone. Because if you've retired, you don't want to commit all your money in one venture, which can actually collapse and you lose all your money. So how do you sort that? How do you make sure that doesn't happen? If you belong to a group, you can actually undertake a risk venture while you're committing a small sum of money, not all your money. That way, you know the risk is mitigated. If you lose the money, you're losing a small bit of that money. If you're running a business and it is picking up, then don't put all of it back. Don't put all of it back. Plan B. So diversify, because a law can come up or a policy that actually leads to the collapse of your business in 1 or 2 years, and you can no longer operate. I'll give an example of the law they introduced on money lending. If all your money was there and now you think it's too risky to lend at the rate they have set, you might struggle in business. So if maybe you have a hotel running, that will be key, so that you're not having all your eggs put in one basket. That will limit your risk or lower the risk, help you to achieve the set goals. If you have also varied goals, specific goals, it means if one fails, you have a plan B, you have something else to rely on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rogers. And now let's turn to the questions from the audience. This one is to Dr. Charles. What investment would you advise to a person getting to retirement and who is getting into panic mode?
Wow. Thank you so much. We have to look at various scenarios, but I think the important thing is use the goal framework. Gather, organize, analyze, learn, and act on the specific areas you have chosen to pay attention to. Because if you are going into retirement, but you have saved some money in bonds, you have saved some money in unit trusts, maybe you have some rental, the solution I would provide would be different from somebody who has no investment in any of those. And for that reason, it becomes challenging to give a specific solution to that specific challenge. And therefore, it becomes fundamental to have a conversation, understand the real issue, and then I can give specific guidance to that question. Maybe I will have a conversation with you to detail so that I can give a specific answer to that question.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. Rogers, time is not on our side. What other options do we have? Do you have to generate? I mean, do we have to generate passive income other than treasury bills, bonds, and umbrella unit trust fund? This is from somebody with a business mind.
Okay, so what other options? Yeah.
Yes.
I actually saw it in the chat. So anyway, I might need some clarity on the last line. Somebody with a business mind. I'm thinking, are you running your own business or are you looking to start a business? So let me approach it from that angle. There are so many options that you can do, but it's always good to rely on your experiences. If you talk to any business people or a specific business, they have their specific challenges that they face in that kind of business. So I would always draw back to in your life, in your experiences, what have you been doing, right? It's not really clear to me, I have to be honest, but I'll have to first look at what have I been doing, what is my experience, what can I do? Because if it's to do with business, then it's better you go into an area where you are a little bit comfortable. If you're not comfortable, Dr. Charles mentioned about something about research and gathering information. You have a problem, you look for a solution, and now you do research. Write down all the information that you have and try to analyze it to look for a solution to your problem. I think that helps a little bit, but you could rephrase that question so that I can answer it better.
Or that's somebody without a business mind.
Oh, so the business is not an option. Okay. That actually limits the options that we have, but I can mention one or two. You've mentioned treasury bills, bonds, and umbrella. I would look at actually real estate. If you don't have a lot of money, because you can have rentals and they'll generate income. If you don't have a lot of money, you can actually join with groups and try to form real estate. You have seen people like combine money to buy land and divide it and resell it. You can do that. If you have a little bit more capital, you can actually go outside Uganda and try to invest abroad. There are options that are actually available abroad that are not available here. So I know you have my my contacts can be shared, and we need to discuss further. I also need to look at your risk profile. Are there things that you fear that you will not be able to do? Maybe also a chat, a one-on-one chat can help to first understand you and then be able to advise on the investment options that you can do. But right now, the environment is so diverse that you can even easily invest in a UST investment in the US without moving an inch from here. So the options are there and there are many. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Time is not on our side. Investment Club, Mbale, happy to be on this forum. And please, you can check the webinar calendar on the website, or you can also join WhatsApp group and also have a lot of resources at the website, and also hand a CPD at the end of the session. Now, the parting shot. I want to start with Rogers in 1 minute. Importance of personal financial goals in mitigating risk. We talk of challenges. How can this help identify, analyze, monitor, report, and prioritize risk in the diverse business environment? 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor. I know time is not on our end, so I'll try to really wrap it up. I'll start from where Dr. Charles started. At least know where you're going. The first thing really is to set that goal. Don't be like the gentleman Dr. Charles met with the dad who didn't know what he was going to do that day. I actually can't believe that. So know where you're going. Then along the way, revise, adjust, research. Get as much information as you can. Ask questions. And I talk to many people, and I know time is not at an end, but I met somebody in the parking lot when I was parking, and we had a conversation, and I got a lot of information from him about something. Ask questions wherever you go. Yeah, there are no stupid questions in this world, and people will give you that information. So ask questions, and then diversify your investment. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you, listeners, for being with us today.
Dr. Charles.
Thank you very much. I will pick from where Rogers left. First is that there is a lot of information out there. I think the fundamental thing is that we must move a little forward to take action on that information. Because if we don't take action, then the information becomes useless to us. But when you have information and you have intense desire to get that information, and you commit to taking baby steps, gradually you build resilience and consistency over a certain direction. I normally give an example. If you cannot spend 1 minute every morning to pray, then you cannot set a goal to regularly read a chapter every day. Small steps normally lead to consistency towards the bigger picture. So I challenge everyone who is listening, who is viewing us, that first of all, pay attention to the information you gather. Number two, seek advice, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Many things have been done. People have set goals, people have been challenged with goals, and people have got solutions out of their goals. And therefore, find out, get peers, get the challenges they have gone through, get through how they have managed those challenges, and you will be able to set goals. So if you have not set a goal, remember the Roman God, which reflects that you have to look back 12 months and you have to look ahead 12 months, and it gives you a framework in which you can set goals. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our 9th edition. A lot of take home. Crawl, walk, run, and fly. The sky is the starting point. Setting personal financial goals. See you in the next edition. God bless all of us abundantly. Thank you, Dr. Charles. Thank you, everyone in the audience. And thank you for all the questions. For those who earn the certificates, continuous professional development, congratulations.